Welcome to ComSpark. This is Steve Greeter. I'm with Expedient, and I'm your host today for an interview with one of the dynamic forces here in the Central Ohio IT community, Mr. Angelo Mazzocco, the president and CEO of 3SGPlus. Welcome, Angelo. It's good to see you.
Great to see you too, Steve. It's been a while.
Absolutely. I miss being able to get together in the community, but this is where we're at now, doing this interview over the Teams today. So you've recently had a transition, Angelo. You are now the president CEO at 3SGPlus. Let's learn about your new role there.
I'd like to tell you about it. I've known 3SGPlus for 20 years. That's when they started, and came into this market. And over the years, they have been known as a content management expert company, as well as a scanning and imaging organization. And as well, we've also had a business process management organization overseas. So we're able to do work cost efficiently in India. More recently, since I've come here, I've begun to help expand the service areas that we have. And so we're now doing application development. We're doing infrastructure design and implementation. We're also doing BI and AI. So we've started 4 services alongside the existing 3 services that 3SG has had. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, as you can imagine, but it really is a blast.
Well, I'm sure if anyone's going to help an organization grow, it will be you. So that's great. All right. So you had a exceptionally diverse career. When we met, you were at dispatch companies as CIO. You've been CIO CISO over at Progressive Medical, CIO CISO most recently over at Central Ohio Primary Care Physicians, president of Pillar, and now obviously president and CEO of 3SG. I know that you're involved with Ohio State as well as Otterbein. I know you're an adjunct professor there. Can you explain to the viewers the logic that kind of ties all these organizations together as you progress through your career?
Yes. Obviously, diversity is one of them. I like differences. I like change. And you know what? In the business world that we live in, the one thing that allows you to do that is technology. I started out with an interest in insurance and computer science. I had a mathematics and actuarial background, as well as a computer science background, and started work at Nationwide Insurance when I came to Columbus. Transitioned over to Accenture, did consulting there. And each of those places where I started out, I was there 7 years each. My wife started to tell me that, wow, you're starting to get the 7-year itch. Thank goodness it's at work. But then I moved on to media with the dispatch. And really, if for those who understood the dispatch companies, what a blast. Every possible company, it seems, was assembled within that group. We had TV, radio, newspaper, internet. We had agricultural companies. We had aviation. We had real estate. It was just unbelievable. I could literally go from one day to the next to a different industry within the dispatch companies. It was a great place to cut my teeth as a CIO. It was my first role as a CIO. After that, I got the opportunity to work at Progressive Medical, which was almost entirely workers' compensation. I had done quite a bit of that at Accenture back in my more insurance consulting days, doing workers' comp and health insurance. The next thing was to totally go off course to go with Pillar. Pillar was all about application development, but doing it in a brand new way. It was all about agility, agile. And wow, what a fun time that was, because not only were we doing the work, but we were convincing companies that now was the time to do agile work. And a lot of them were like, no way, I've learned how to do waterfall all my life. And that's the way you do application development. So it was a blast, not only to do the work, but to convince people that this was the way to go, and that you would be able to get your work done more efficiently and more productively using the agile solutions. Um, you know, uh, Many of the companies I worked with, such as Pillar, are now part of huge companies. Pillar is now part of Accenture, one of the largest companies in the world. As a matter of fact, Progressive Medical is now part of Optum, the largest healthcare company in the world. So, and I get questions all the time. It's like, is it coincidence, or was it because you were there? And I'll tell you what, I think it was so much luck. It was unbelievable to be able to be at these organizations that did great things. I really think that I was just lucky to be at those places with those organizations at the point in times where they were sort of selected to go to the next level.
I'll say this much, Angelo. You built some all-star teams at those organizations as well, and I'm sure that helped propel them forward.
Well, I'll tell you that I have had some of the best people that I can think of to work with. Not only was I able to work with some of the best leaders, and the company that I just came from, Central Ohio Primary Care, to go from 30 doctors to now close to 500 is just phenomenal. And Dr. Dr. Bill Wolf, there is one of the smartest guys I know. And in one breath, I can say I got to work with Mr. John F. Wolf. I got to work with Dave Bianconi. I got to work with Bob Myers. I got to work with some of the most creative people in their industries. And it's been phenomenal. So what luck I've had, that's for sure. And now I get to work with some of the most creative people in this industry, which is going to be a lot of fun as well.
Outstanding, outstanding. So with this great diversity in your career, with the background that you've accomplished, what career advice would you give for our viewers?
Number one, at least every 7 years in your career, take a look at where you are and if you're still passionate about what you're doing. I think that that's the key success factor. And I'm going to write a book about this. My daughter keeps telling me, she works for Deloitte, and she says, Dad, as soon as we both get a little time together, we're going to write a book. So passion is the key. I don't care what your skill is. I don't care what your wealth level is. If you are passionate. So every 7 years or so, I would take a look at where I was and say, is this the best place for me? And, it isn't like every company has the grand pension for you. We're all managing, for the most part, our own pensions. So moving from company to company isn't the bad thing it used to be. I remember when in my first job in the late 70s, looking at someone's resume and saying, oh my God, they've worked at 2 places. Well, yes, you laugh at that today. Today, if you were to look at someone's resume and it only had 1 place, you would say, oh my, that's terrible, right? So things have changed, but number one is passion. Number 2 is technology. Come on, gang, it's a technological world. If you've got a technology background, you can do anything, anywhere. I really believe that. There's no industry that'll turn you away. I remember the McCoys, Mr. McCoy, John McCoy, who started Bank One, which is now Chase. And he was the first person who I remember saying that we're not a bank, we're a technology company that does banking. And you know what? A lot of people have said that about their company since then. But that's where it really opened my eyes. And that was back around 97 when I heard him say that, was, hey, the world is changing. We're no longer just in the business that we're doing. We're also in technology. And within that technology, we're enabled more to do our business better. What great insight. And the cool thing is, all these people who I feel have given us a wealth of knowledge have been right here in the Central Ohio market. these people really understood, whether you're talking to McCoys, McConnells, these people really understood what technology was all about and how it could help their business. So passion gets you where you're going to do the best you can. Technology allows you to connect with any industry you want to. And from my perspective, I feel like I've worked in every industry, sort of went sideways instead of just up and down in one particular industry.
Makes plenty of sense, especially with the background that you said over at Dispatch. Um, uh, Not that many people are familiar with the aviation agriculture aspects of that organization. A lot are on the real estate. They used to own a ton of real estate in Central Ohio back when you were with the organization.
Well, and
So,
don't forget, they also owned the Bank of Ohio. They were very much one of the forerunners when it came to banking. So it was just amazing because people say, how would they have an aviation company? Well, it was the banks and it was the banks that really they needed to get their executives from city to city to visit the banks, and so they had airplanes to do that. And because of the media companies, they had helicopters. So of course they had an aviation company that you know uh, really managed those. But I remember they were running the Sabre system, which is a system that many of the major aviation companies were running, and that's what my department had to help support. So, we went from helping the newspaper systems to helping the TV systems to helping the aviation systems to helping the real estate system. It was just a, I think, a wonderful thing for somebody in technology to be able to feel like they're adaptable across so many different industries.
so we're going to go ahead and take that concept of adaptability, um, and slide it just a little bit. You've acquired this wealth of knowledge, and now you're involved on numerous boards, numerous nonprofits, and one a decently well-known leadership development program. So from here, can you give us a little insight on why you invest your time in doing those types of activities?
Well, I think that besides passion, right, what's important to me is balance. At the end of the day, you have to feel like you contributed at your 8 to 5, or in some cases, 6 to 7, whatever
Mhm.
time you take.
That's right.
But you've also spent good, solid time with your family. But what have you done to help somebody else? And, that's where boards come in, whether they're for nonprofits or, companies who are starting out or companies who have been around. That's a great opportunity to be able to get in there, not only contribute, but also learn a lot. And, that third item, which is connect. Connections are so important. I have probably met some of the folks that I'm most proud to be friends with in the business community through board seats where I've been able to meet folks. And I'm on a couple of boards now that I'm extremely proud of. And it's just amazing that you're able to sit next to people that you are. And I can go through many, many names, Tony Wells, for instance, working with him on the groundwork group, which was his idea from early on how to help the community with technology. Just amazing. I actually was on a board with Jeff Wilkins. That was like the founder of CompuServe. It's like, oh my goodness, Will Schroeder,
Hmm.
probably the most created companies by one person in Central Ohio came from Will Schroeder. Ben Blanquer, So it's just amazing to me how you're given the opportunity to learn, contribute, and be next toe to toe with some of the best minds in Central Ohio or wherever it is that you're on that board at. I also think that teaching, educating, it was a way for me to, I think, snap out of not being comfortable in front of a crowd. Many of us analytics, I'm basically an analytic introvert, whatever you want to call it. Hey, you can recreate yourself, put yourself in a position where you can recreate yourself. And having to stand in front of MBA classes, of which now I estimated about 1,500 students over my 20 some year career, that it's a great way to get comfortable talking in front of people, because you're there. You've got to do it. You've got to know the material that you're going to present. So, so those are just some of the things that lead to that balance in your life, that you're balancing your work, your family, your educating, as well as your work for the community.
Well, obviously, your impact on the community has been tremendous. The interesting aspect is of how much collaboration that you've started and we've worked through in the community. I mean, there was no Central Ohio CIO Forum until you founded it, and you've more or less run it for almost the entire time it's existed. The CIO Tomorrow event, be it the numerous iterations that the name has had, you were on the founding aspect of that, and as well as the ComSpark Tech Power Players Award right here in Central Ohio. We've only started that 3 years ago now, but you were right there at the beginning of that. How did you get involved, or what gave you the insight, I should say, to start the Central Ohio CIO Forum, and then later what evolved into the CIO Tomorrow event?
Well, you know what? I would like to say that it was something brilliant, but I'll tell you what, we were talking about the dispatch companies, and it was a scary place to be a first time CIO. As I was in 1997, I was a lot younger than today. And I went in there to help a great CFO, Jim Gilmore, try to consolidate the back offices. The media companies had been under the scrutiny of FCC for many years, and now the FCC was going to allow media companies to merge and combine. And so that's why the Wolves wanted to do that for their company. So I went there thinking, oh, I can do that. That's easy. But what I quickly found was I had all this other technology and all these other industries that I needed to master, and that was not so easy. So the first thing that came to my mind was help. I need help. So, like I told you, I wish I could tell you it was a better story, but I really created that CIO forum with the thought in mind that I could get help. And you know what? The first 8 of us that were as part of that group, after the first week, we're telling each other, wow, we can all help each other. This isn't just going to be, because it actually started out being like an advisory board of some sort for the dispatch. But we quickly found out that everybody felt that they could bring their issues and their problems there as well, especially on the technology front or the people front and process front, and we could talk about it and we could resolve them. So that's really how it started. And we've had great people. I think the group is now up to 200, and Ben Blankera is now going to take it over. I didn't think it would be fair, given my role as a vendor, to still be in control of the CIO forum. So we did that once before when I left to go to Pillar, and Ron Frisora, the CIO of MI Homes, took it over for 3 years. And it just worked out great. And I'm sure Ben's going to take it to another level. And I think you're helping him with that, Steve. So I know it will be fantastic. But
Thank you, sir.
CIO Tomorrow came out of the fact that everybody was yelling at me because we couldn't add CIOs quick enough to our group. We got up to about 25 or 30, and we're like, we're getting too big. I don't have any room in my conference room. So I get a call from the one of the prior CIOs of Cardinal saying, hey, we're the biggest company in the state. You've got to let us in the CIO forum. And I'm like, okay, sure, fine. And I always tell the story about Jack Hanna calling saying, don't tell me the organization needs to be a minimum size to be in the CIO forum. My CIOs just got as many problems as you do. So, okay, Jack, you're in. So before you know it, now the group is 200 and some. But at that point in time, we thought we would create a one-day event. It started out as a one-day event that's today known as CIO Tomorrow. And it started out as the CIO Symposium, then it became CIO HIO, CIO Ohio, right? And then Tech Tomorrow, and then CIO Tomorrow. And what a blast that became. You know, we were able to accumulate many people. We even had at one point a national media coverage with Information Week. They used to cover it. And so we started getting calls and people coming in from all over the country who wanted to be part of it. So it's been a lot of fun. We have since welcomed ComSpark in. They're great. They're an Ohio-based organization, and they do events in Cincinnati as well as here in Columbus. I think they're going to eventually get to Cleveland and maybe even Toledo. So there are kind of organizations, just like Business First is, has always helped us for a long time with CIO Tomorrow. And then, you know, at one of our CIO Tomorrow events, we said, hey, we want to do more for the up and coming CIOs, those who aspire to be a CIO. And better yet, not only aspiring CIOs, but aspiring leaders. So we included even the vendor leaders. So that it included both the next level CIOs, but also the next level people like you, Steve, who may someday be running your company, right? So it was great. We've since had about, I think, 5 cohorts, we call them. Each session is a cohort with at least 50. It seems like every time I go to that class, it seems like they're bigger and bigger, but we've had about 250 people go through it. So the cool thing there is how we're helping the community to grow. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I'll put Central Ohio toe-to-toe against anybody, any other area of the country when it comes to technological know-how. And it's not just because we have the great companies, you know, the Cover My Meds, you know, whether you're talking up and coming, the Nationwides and the Cardinals, but we have such a well-rounded industrial base here, from manufacturing to insurance to banking. It just goes on and on and on. But the people, you know, people like yourself, Ben Blanquer, these folks figure out a way, and it amazes me how they just get everybody in the community working together, talking together, networking. There's always an excuse for us to get together. And that is what I think is at the core. You already know a person because you met them at Tech Strategy, or you met them at this CIO Tomorrow event. When you go to consider hiring somebody, you already know them. And that's what our community has been able to do.
I fully agree with you. We've created in Central Ohio a culture of collaboration that I think can't be matched anywhere else in the nation. I'll tell you this much. I think that setting the standard of collaboration way back in '97 with the CIO Forum, continuing with CIO Tomorrow, continuing with Tech Power Players, I think this is what sets us apart. I think it makes each one of our people stronger, makes our community stronger, and I think it will continue to propel Central Ohio forward for years to come. That said, I'm going to shift to possibly your favorite topic when we're going to go ahead and continue this interview. And that is, I know because I know you, how much pride you have in your family. What role does your family play in your career?
Well, you know, I am really proud of my family. You know, it starts with my wife, and she is really the heart and soul of our family. And you know, her and I met as developers back. I don't even want to say what year, but we've been married now 37 years, and she was a developer right down the hall from where I was a developer, and we both worked in systems back in those days. So I guess it's no surprise that all three of our kids ended up being consultants and working for competitive companies with each other. We have an inside joke that says that at Thanksgiving they all have to sign an NDA before they come to dinner, so that anything gets talked about isn't shared. So it's just it's there's something about now. We're very lucky. All three of our kids, Chris and Andrea, John Patrick. I almost said Steph, which is Chris's wife. I always include her as one of our kids, and they're just so successful at what they've been able to do with their careers and with their lives, and I'm very proud of that. So I think that that's part of that balance equation that you just can't. At least I could never just focus on work or just community. I think you needed to make sure that the family was coming along too, and that they were a part of it. Now, as we all know, there are limitations at times as to, success factors, things like that. But we just lucked out, and I think a lot of it is just the competitiveness within the family. It's like when the oldest went to Miami, I remember my daughter saying, "Well, I'm not going to Miami. I'm going to go build my own legacy somewhere else." And by golly, he went to Accenture and she went to Deloitte, and then the youngest went to E&Y, and now he's the first one to have spun out of the big four, and he's with a startup group here in town. So anyway, I can go on and on that topic, as you know, Steve, but it's something that I've been lucky in that way, and I like to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations to not only you, but the entire Mazzocco family on that. So now you've made the transition over to 3SG Plus, and obviously the growth has already started with rolling out the new lines of business and such. What is next for you in your career?
Every place I've gone to, the first couple years have been really digging in and trying to see what we can do to jumpstart the organization, to get it to grow more than it is already. So that's really what I'm seeing for the next couple of years, is to focus on making 3SG Plus better and helping it to grow. And if we can begin to get that done, I think I'm going to be happy. Now, what will happen is, as I told you, the passion factor, right? Right now, I'm happy as a lark, but I'm going to reinspect it 5, 7 years from now to see where are we, and is this the time to do something different? So I can't say for sure what it will be, but for right now, I'm having a blast, and I'm really going to milk this for a while to try to make 3SG Plus successful.
And you got plenty of work in front of you, so that's I know you're happy when you've got something significant to do. So absolutely.
Right. And just like all the other great companies I've been able to work with, I've got a fantastic team here, and it's very exciting. So I look forward to it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for participating in the Tech Power Players interview today. Look forward to working with you as we continue to build this event here in Central Ohio. For the viewers out there, if you'd like to see other video interviews, we are going to be doing quite a few more. And you can go see these at comspark.tech to see the additional interviews, and also to learn more about the upcoming event here in Central Ohio on November 12th. So, Angelo, thank you on behalf of ComSpark. Look forward to seeing you when we have a chance.
Thank you very much, Steve, and keep doing what you're doing, because you do a great job.